I'm independent. You know it. You love it. You can't live without it. Rockland World Radio.
Welcome to Dialogues with Dan, heard on Rockland World Radio every Tuesday evening at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be sure to check out the archives for past programs by clicking on the Programs and Archives button located on the menu bar. And now the host of Dialogues with Dan, Mr. Dan Windheim.
Oh, thanks, Richard. Hi, everyone. It's Dan. And guess what? Tonight, I'm interviewing, again, a childhood friend from Nyack. I'm speaking with Vera Vursta.
It's a pleasure, Dan.
Hi, Vera.
Hi.
Great to see you again.
Great to see you.
Yeah, tonight's interview is about grandparents raising their own grandchildren and info about drug addiction and other info. Hello, Vera Vursta.
Hello, Dan Windheim, and how are you today?
Oh, very good, thanks.
Pleasure.
Glad to see you
Glad
again.
to see you too.
Maybe,
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Maybe we could start by you, Vera, talking a little about your past.
Sure.
And about your children, and now your grandchildren.
Yes, Dan. I've been blessed with, at the moment, I have 6 lovely grandchildren, and 2 daughters. They're in their 30s. Let's see. I had a very blessed life, but there were a lot of stumbling blocks along the way. There were challenges that made me stronger.
Yeah, such as what? What sort of challenges?
Well, Dan, I'm a grandparent now, and due to the amidst the opioid epidemic, and I'm a custodial grandparent and caregiver of 2 beautiful grandsons, one 17 years of age, and the other one 6.
Wow.
So in that, we had challenges going through court systems, trying to keep visitation going when one parent didn't show, telling the child why the parent didn't show. We had to justify it and say maybe they got busy, maybe work came up. So I as a grandparent was never stopped really raising children. And as well, I'm a full-time employee also. I work at the Department of Social Services.
Right, what do you do there?
Well, I was there for 23 years, Dan, and I'm in a new department. I've been there for about 2 weeks now, and I'm very, very happy to be a part of what I consider my passion, a voice for the children. I work in the Child Care Subsidy Unit up there in Pomona for the County of Rockland, the Department of Social Services, and we help low-income families get child care, and also non-parent caregivers, such as myself and others. And some people may not be aware of this, but there are some resources there as well.
Yeah, which we'll talk about a little later.
Okay, sounds good.
But at this time, could you talk about maybe the positive, being a guardian, and maybe not so positive?
Yes. Well, the positives surely outweigh the not so positives. The not so positives were, of course, the stumbling blocks and challenges, but we had great joys. For example, when you hear teachers tell you how great your grandchildren are, how they excelled, how they lost, say, their separation anxieties, which they had maybe at age 1 at the onset of me acquiring them. And now they're being told how wonderful they are, how sociable they are, how polite they are, how willing to, help always. And it just gives me great, great, great joy.
Yes.
It really does.
That's fantastic.
Yes, Dan.
Where do you think that, I mean, your grandchildren, where do they get these skills, these social skills? I mean, I imagine their parents, there was difficult times.
Yes, there were many difficult times. The parents were going through their recovery journeys themselves, and the children needed security and stability. So here they always lived with me, except for maybe a short, brief moment, say a month at a time. So basically, I was their stability and security while the parents were, before their recovery, I was there. Then now the parents were not there, but they're coming back in their own capacity at different levels, of course, in their sobriety and recovery journeys. But I stay with the children. I give them the security and the stability that is very, very important to them. Many children move from place to place in these homes, and so they know what they're getting, basically. The same schools, the same neighbors, the same friends, the same house, the same dogs in the house. So it's quite some family unit that we have.
That's excellent. Excellent.
Yes.
So your grandchildren, they're stable, they're grounded.
Yes.
And it hasn't been easy.
Yeah. No, we had our ups and downs, but overall it's stabilizing, and they're getting older and more mature, and we've gone through therapy resources and things, and just trying to learn. Life is a learning experience. So as long as you stop learning, that's when there's a problem.
Exactly. Yeah, I imagine, though, at these times, most people like yourself are preparing for retirement, and they're going on trips, they're taking weekend getaways, and you can't do this.
Yes, Dan, that is true. And there are moments where I say, oh, geez, my friends are going here, or my colleagues, or my coworkers, or my sister, or somebody, and they invited me, and then they stopped inviting because they know you're busy anyways.
Right.
So there are moments when you're like, well, wait a minute, I'm a grandparent. But that's okay, because I know the light's at the end of the tunnel. I know that my grandchildren are getting strong, and they have the stability, and it gives me great joy and solace in knowing that they are well-rounded. Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, so it's short-lived at the time, but I do sometimes wonder what it would be like to go to the beach, but they like the beach, but they burn, so then you have to chase them up and down, and no more sun worshipping where you can just lay and soak in the rays. That's in the past.
That's
they say that's not too healthy anyway, so
yes, exactly.
It's all right. It's okay.
Yes. So maybe now might be a good time to speak about some of the systems out there to assist parents, children, what have you.
Sure. Yeah. I know that I have had a slew of resources that really helped me in my journey. And as working for the county also, I was aware of, say, for example, early intervention for children if they had speech delays, if they had sensory issues. And my youngest one did have sensory issues. The food cannot touch. He couldn't wear jeans. And to this day, he still wants just soft sweatpants or cotton, no zippers, no buttons. But to me, I just thought that was picky, and they actually gave it a name, the sensory issues. But we worked through that. So there are other resources. I belong to a wonderful, wonderful group called Friends of Recovery Rockland. And they're affiliated with a program of the Rockland Council on Alcoholism and Drug Dependence, two marvelous groups. the RCADD or RCADD helped me because they're an information and referral service. So if somebody wanted to go in and get a recovery coach, which they do have, a very lovely lady by the name of Nancy Taylor, and they can guide you through life's journey in recovery. So they could give you resources and treatment centers and education. And Kathleen Benny is a wonderful preventive services coordinator there, along with Ruth Bowles, who's the director of RCADD. Wonderful people, willing to help everybody and put foremost to help others. And so their number I have also. Should I divulge that
please
at
give
this
that.
point? Of course.
And the website?
Yes, of course. So for Friends of Recovery or the RCADD, of course, the RCADD is a referral service for treatment, education, and other services. We have Kathleen Benny's number, and her number is 845-215-9788. I believe her extension is 25, but this is the main number, and through there you could reach the recovery coach, you could reach Ruth Bowles, you could reach Kathleen Benny. And for and then there, let's see what else. The Friends of Recovery, which is a program through the RCADD, has a website and a Facebook page, and of course RCADD also does. So for Friends of Recovery, we have www.friendsofrecoveryrockland.org. You could email at info@friendsofrecoveryrockland, no spaces.org. The phone number is also the same as the RCADD. And we have meetings, Friends of Recovery, and you could just come and observe. You don't have to say a word if you wish, but we lobby for, in Albany, we do rallies, recovery rallies. We have one coming up in September 23rd. Excellent. Lots to do. Mental Health Association.
You said September 23rd.
23rd is a big recovery rally we're going to have. For more information, you can call either Friends of Recovery Rockland. We have a website there, and we have the same number for RCADD. You could ask either somebody, one of the many lovely ladies there.
Excellent.
Yes, and also the Mental Health Association has CASA program, different programs where they have visitation for children in the court system, and they have helped me tremendously in the past. There's
That's great.
People there, Stephanie.
Yeah, Vera, how prevalent would you say this?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How prevalent would you say grandparents taking care of their grandchildren or addiction?
Danny, it's incredible. It's growing at an alarming rate. We did, actually on YouTube, I also did a video, and we did it through the Children's Services, Office of Children's Services from Albany, and a man by the name of Jerry, if I can remember his last name, I'm sorry, but came from Albany, and I can't, and have to refer back to my other references, but at any rate, he came and we did a video on that, and there were 815,000 views on that video on opioid about parents and other relatives raising grandchildren.
That's crazy.
And we also,
great.
Yes, and the Volunteer Counseling Services coordinated that, actually, the Rosa Serrano Delgado and Monserrat Santana, wonderful ladies that run a group there, a grandparent group called RAP, Relatives as Parent Partners. Wonderful group. And that's on the third Friday of every month. And I go there on my lunch break from 12 to 1, so I keep pretty busy, but it's well worth it. Yes, and we could also, for that, you could call the VCS to join that group, or come and sit in any time, and they do have a phone number. may I divulge that?
Oh, please do.
Okay. So for volunteer counseling services, Rosa Delgado, Monserrat Santana lead groups for grandparents and other things. There's free counseling for grandparents raising grandchildren there as well. Absolutely
That's
free
excellent.
through them. And
Is
then,
that counseling?
Yes.
It's for the grandparents or
Yeah.
the children?
It could be for both, but the grandparent, the number to call for the particulars, I guess, would be this number, 634-5729, and you could ask to speak to Rosa Delgado or anyone there,
excellent.
and they could probably give you more information.
Yes.
I know we only have 30 minutes.
Yes,
so
thank you.
But that's the main number.
Yeah, Vera, I'm wondering,
Sure.
with the current
Yes.
news that's going on at the border with the separation of
the
children and the parents.
Yes.
I mean, I imagine that's going to cause horrific problems.
Yes. So if any time there's like children are involved, they would need extra counseling and resources, and we have to have more of those. It's horrible. Of course, I don't know all the details. I have to be a little more versed. But anytime children are separated, how traumatic that must be for the children, because we are the voices of the children.
You're right.
Some are too young; they can't speak for themselves.
True. And that's not even counting the addiction component.
Yes, and
this
that's
is just
growing.
the separation.
Yes, and this is growing at an alarming rate. And at my group, Friends of Recovery Rockland, there is a bereavement group called GRASP, which a lady, Ruben Arbitman, runs. And she lost her son, and also a woman by the name of Karen Schwartz, Summerstein Schwartz, also lost her son to opioid addiction, and Jane Murphy lost her nephew, Kyle Moynihan, to opioid misuse as well. So there are many people in our group that have lost loved ones, and we belong to Friends of Recovery Rockland, and they go to a bereavement group, which I would like to make available to people.
Yeah,
it's right
please,
here through the
that would be
RCADD.
a great thing to share.
Yeah, and that's specifically for the opioid epidemic, losing loved ones to the opioid epidemic, or a pandemic, really. It's really growing at an alarming rate. So the GRASP group is headed by Ruben Arbitman, and email here for anybody who wants to contact her and learn about this bereavement group called GRASP is, the email is Rena, R-E-N-A, 321@AOL.com, and the phone number there is 914-262-0146, or there's also a website where you could go to www.grasphelp.org. So that would tell you about GRASP, which is a bereavement group for the loss of loved ones due to the opioid pandemic.
Excellent.
Yes.
So, Vera, I imagine you feel society is doing a decent job handling children, from not broken homes, but broken homes.
Yes, children needing help. I think the numbers, especially due to the opioid pandemic, are growing at such a rate that we're having difficulty in rising up to the challenges. But we are trying all across the board between law enforcement and treatment centers, but we have to address certain things also. There are overzealous doctors that are overprescribed medication. We are, however, addressing the drug dealers that are dealing these drugs to our loved ones, and they are being held accountable and charged with crimes for subsequent and drug overdoses. But there's a lot of work yet to be done. It has to be a collaborative effort. And we're moving in that right direction, because even Governor Cuomo with this combat heroin, and President Trump also with the, acknowledges opioid pandemic, it is being brought out into the open. It's just resources somewhat are I don't want to say limited, because we are trying to gain more funding, and as long as we get through the awareness, but the stigma does not help, and there are families with stigma within the family as well. So stigma, and we must break the silence. In time, we have to realize what kind of a problem we have here, and then we can sit down and all talk about it and try to come up with some solutions. But we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, Vera. I'm wondering, do you feel the actual children or the addicts have any responsibility for their own actions?
For their own. Well, that's what we're trying to get them the help. We have now something called Narcan, and I've gone through the county, just had one through mental health, and we just went to the legislative chambers over there in the county on New Hempstead Road, and a gentleman in RN by the name of Doobie, I don't recall his first name, I want to say Edward, but I'm not positive, but Mr. Doobie, RN Doobie, talked about and showed us how to administer the antidote of Narcan, which is very controversial. Some people say, well, you're going to keep reviving people who are overdosing, but what you're doing is hopefully you're giving them a second chance, because it's not, it gives you half hour to an hour and a half to get the person into a hospital, and at that point you could talk and give them all the resources to convince him to go, or her, to go in to get help. And that may save, and does save, a life. So that's really important.
And every life matters.
Every life matters, absolutely. Every life matters, because everybody who suffers from substance use disorders and is somebody's mother or father or child or niece or nephew. So, or somebody's neighbor, somebody's colleague. So it's really used to be just in the, neighborhoods where, struggling neighborhoods. That's not the case anymore. This is occurring in affluent neighborhoods and suburbs as well. So we cannot overlook this.
Yes. Let me, in our last 5 minutes or so, let me ask you, do the parents, do they want to be parents, or do they want to just pass the kids off?
Yeah. Well, the ones that want to pass off aren't quite there in the place they would like to be or could be in their recovery.
So it's a psychological.
It's basically, like you said, it's not a moral failing, because our Surgeon General has declared that it's not a moral failing. But once you ingest the drug, say heroin, it then takes over you, and then you're not consciously able to make these choices. Then it becomes a medical condition. Right. So at that point, when you address that medical condition, when you get the help, the treatment, there are many different pathways to get help, many different, not one fix for everybody. Some people need medication assisted, some want to do a cold turkey, lots of counseling, there's fitness-based also recovery. So there's something for everybody. We're custom tailoring, and we're have so many more choices than there were in the past. But the children are the ones who, they need their parents, but they need healthy parents. And the parents want a parent. I truly believe, by talking to many and in my own situation, they really want to. It depends. It's an indication of where they are in their recovery as to when they will be able to, play in that role. So
Vera, you know that my programs, they're heard everywhere.
Yes.
Would you have any websites, maybe like national websites or even world websites?
Yes.
Do you have any you could share?
Yes, I have. There's the National Council on Alcohol and Drug Dependence.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
We could do like a search on that. If you just go in and do a search, you could have the National Council on Drug Dependence. And there's also, let's see, that's the national. Then we have Friends of Recovery in New York. I also, with my daughter Elena, we were featured on page 16, and we were offering hope for when she actually had to confront her addiction and what made her turn to get the help that she so deserves. So Friends of Recovery also has a resource guide. This is my daughter and myself, and we're Friends of Recovery New York here with the t-shirts, a proud mom of recovering in Rockland.
Yes.
And this showed how she was in a nearly fatal car accident, and from that she was confronted by facing her addiction and doing something about it. So sometimes we just need to make some good out of the bad, and move forward and learn from the past, but not so much dwell. Learning. It's a learning curve. And
letting
must
go.
Be positive.
Letting go.
And letting go and moving forward, not being stuck.
Yes, exactly.
Because then we're not growing and we're not, recovering.
Yeah. So. In our last minute, Vera.
Yes, Danny.
Maybe could you speak about your
Sure.
Your life of kicking back, and then I know you're enjoying. You're enjoying this time in your life.
Yes.
But you would like to one day kick back and enjoy life in a different way.
Yes, Danny. We all do. It's just life is such a rat race at times,
Yes.
We would all like to. We all become like gerbils in the wheel, so to speak. Whether it's for, opioid addictions or raising children as grandparents. The world is just, we all have our passions, our lifelong passions and pursuits. So in that respect, we're all busy and never enough time for the pleasure and, all the fine things. But I enjoy, for example, photography. I'm a picture-aholic. I'm there with the camera or a cell phone, whatever I could take a picture with, capturing moments of children eating ice cream or whatever. I just think that, you capture memories in that respect. And I love to hike and walk behind my house. I have about 50 acres in Rolling Brooks, and of course it's not my property. But I do take a walk there every now and then just to reflect and meditate, and that helps as well. So we need to find some time to ourselves, even if it's for 15 minutes,
Exactly.
Because we deserve it. It helps us. It empowers us to keep going, plugging along. So.
And lastly, maybe name those websites before we end.
Sure. Okay, again, Danny, we had the Mental Health Association, which is very instrumental and offers a lot of advocacy for people. And that number I will give you as 267-2172. We have RAP for relatives as parent partners through the Volunteer Counseling Services, which also gives free counseling to grandparents and caretakers. And that number in Volunteer Counseling Services is 634-5729.
That's 845.
Okay.
Right. 845?
845, yes, they're all 845, except that GRASP number, that was a 914 number.
Yes.
But then we have Friends of Recovery Rockland, and we have the RCADD, RCADD those two groups, and we have, which of course the one, RCADD, was the information referral, education, and prevention, and then Friends of Recovery Rockland does rallies and all kinds of things to spread awareness. And their mission, actually, our mission in Friends of Recovery Rockland, is to promote a positive view of recovery from addictions and to educate communities about the effective outcomes associated with receiving appropriate information, treatment, and support. Our goals are for all community members to have a common language and understanding of how recovery works, and to gain community support for this positive movement. And indeed, it is a movement, and the children are the voices that need to be heard. They are future. And they are everything. Yes.
That's right. Vera Vursta, I'd like to thank you for
you
joining
so much.
me.
Thank you. It was a
on
pleasure.
Dialogues with Dan.
Oh.
This has been Vera Vursta on Dialogues with Dan, everyone.
And thank you for having me. It was
you're welcome.
A pleasure, and it was so fascinating reconnecting.
Yeah.
We go back quite some time.
Yeah, exactly.
Over half a century, Danny.
Yes.
It's a long time.
Well, everyone, Vera Vursta
Thank
on
you.
Dialogues with Dan.
Thank you.
Have a great week, everyone.
Yes.
Peace.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Danny. That was such a pleasure. I enjoyed that. I could go on.
Yes.
I'm a rambler.
Welcome to the new sound of Rockland. RocklandWorldRadio.com. Exciting online TV and radio.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Welcome to the new sound of Rockland. RocklandWorldRadio.com. Exciting online TV and radio. Watch. It's not just radio, it's Rockland World Radio. RocklandWorldRadio.com.